everybody, and welcome back to Manga Monday here on the Weird Science Manga and Anime Podcast. As always, I'm here with my man, Luke Hollywood. What up, Luke?
Oh, what up, Jim?
What up? And you ended up telling me, hot off the presses, we ended up having 2 new stories hit on the kind of the Manga Plus side of things when you get with it. And one of them is what we're going to be talking about. And it's something that people had really been kind of clamoring for. It's big in Japan. It hasn't been officially translated. It is now. It's Oshi no Ko, where we get to this. And I think that you thought, oh, well, Jim will like this because it has, 2 things that he does love. The idols, but also the mangas. It's combined.
There you go.
And then I realized it's also because there's things in here that you like the lolicon stuff, right? Like, oh, my goodness gracious. When we get to that, I will end up telling you what I thought that meant and then what it actually does.
Now you're on a list.
How I shouldn't have looked that up. I mean, I just looked it up and gave me a definition. It was quick, but I don't want to make people think that it's that sus. But I didn't know what that meant. I kind of got the context, but I'm like,
I didn't want to explain that. Oh,
yeah,
boy.
I didn't know what was going on, but it does have the idols, and I don't know if you know this, but I'm a big Blackpink fan. Yeah, and so I was hoping maybe we would see some Blackpink mentions, but we didn't get that. I was so upset.
Hey, boy.
Oh my goodness, there, Jisoo. But when we get into this, we'll be talking a little idol stuff, and also the idea that what we're reading now, not quite the full package yet. We'll get to that in a minute because you're going to give us the info and hit it, Luke.
Indeed. This is the hot off the presses, Oshi no Ko's, which apparently, according to the Wikipedias, translates to either favorite girl or my idol's child, which is a bit more sus.
Yeah, I mean, combining those two, really odd, right?
I don't know why they stuck with the Japanese. Maybe just because they wanted to hear you say it, Jim. Because you did a good job with the titles.
It is weird because I even went to talk to you about it. I can't remember it yet. Eventually we will. But I was going to tell my manager from Belfast about it and say, hey, you should check it out because he had just gotten in. I mentioned this a lot lately. He's just gotten into the manga, and it'd be cool for him to jump into something like as it's being released here, at least in the West and stuff. That's always pretty cool. With that, I couldn't remember what it's called, so I didn't. So that's the deal. I mean, there you go. The word of mouth is not really happening, with me at least. Like I said, you could have called it Idol Child, but spell it IDLE. And then you're going to blow people's minds is what you're going to do. I mean, seriously, Idol Child, I said. But give us this info, more and me not interrupting you.
Yes, this was written by Akasaka of Kaguya-sama Love is War fame, Jim. That's one that we did do back in the day. And also drawn... We did like it. And it's drawn by Mengo Yokoyari of Scum's Wish fame. Yeah, I've done that one. But
there's something about you?
Yeah. But that sounds interesting. Yes. But also, it was first published in Weekly Young Jump, the magazine, from April 2020, and it has 7 volumes out so far in Japan's. No volumes out so far in the West. It was released digitally instead via Manga Plus, and we have 4 chapters so far. And will we be getting 4 more this week? Time will tell, Jim. I suppose we got to wait and see.
That's what they claim. The claim is you're going to get 4 chapters each week to catch up to almost 80 that are out right now. So obviously 1 more each week and things like that. So by the time it catches up, somebody did the black magic math. I don't understand that, but they said it would take half a year, 6 months to catch up to getting current and day and date. But again, it's one of those that people are so concerned to get to that. I just want to have it so there's no. I want 1 chapter a week. I can't handle 4 a week.
You're greedy, Jim.
It's new to me. When I read it, I'm not that concerned. Now, with that, most of the people that I saw in these comments, I don't know what their problem is anyway, because they seem to have all gone sus and went online and got unofficial translations on the black market deal going there. No, and so a lot of people, but with that, when I have a little bit of information myself when you're done, about what this is all about, as I already alluded to, and it is from the people it seemed to, maybe there's some who are getting it in Japanese and read Japanese, but I think it's more sus. But we'll talk about that because it really does shine a different light on the series. And I'm surprised they didn't reveal that when they released at least these 4. But I don't know how you do it. How do you reveal it? I mean, I guess maybe
know. You don't wait that long, is what I think.
I guess you can write prelude on it. That might actually help, but you go on and then I'll explain it to make more sense.
Well, that is actually all of my info because it's only a very recent series.
I said, do you have a lot of info? And you go, well, yeah, but no, you had nothing. So the big thing about it is it seems like the story going forward is kind of in these little 10-chapter little things there. That might be just what they do the volumes as well, these 10-chapter blocks. The first 10 chapters of this is just a prelude. You don't actually find out what the real story is about until the end of chapter 10 going into chapter 11.
Chapter 11?
And 11 kicks off the real deal. Now, we've had this before. I mentioned Akane Banashi, which we really like and seems like it's a real banger in Japan. People are loving that. And I do like it, but we had a first chapter, a large chapter, that was about what was going to be our protagonist's dad failing, and then we were like, okay, we like that, but then all of a sudden, oh, wait a minute, he's left behind me. So there are things that, there's precedent for this sort of thing, but 10 chapters.
That's a big ask.
I mean, that's I thought you said something else. Oh, my goodness.
Oh, is this Dragon Ball?
Yeah, because with that, I guess because of how it was released or maybe whatnot, but you would be worried who's going to stick around for 10 chapters.
10 chapters, what have you done for me, Lily?
Digging your grave. I mean, was that the plan for the Red Hood? Were the hoodies there, right? Because that's... Yeah, so first off, you would have to expect the first 10 chapters, which we got 4 on Manga Plus already. We're dealing with this first one. They better be good. They better be good in keeping your deal, or people are just never going to get to the real story. And I know the real story. I'm not going to reveal it because I don't want to spoil it, but it is a little darker than anything you're seeing here, and it is a crazy kind of twist. But
are you going to stick around for 10 chapters to find out?
This chapter has a weird twist as well.
Roller coaster ride of emotions.
Because we jump into this, and we have a cold open, as we always do, especially the first chapter, freezing. Because what you're seeing is, if you don't reread this, you will never remember what happens at the beginning of this, because there are 2 characters mentioned that, as we go in, aren't even born yet. And it really doesn't do anything, really. It just ends up where there's, a newscast. It looks like there is a Good Morning Dublin, right? Is that a show you watch all the time there at Island? And they have Ruby-san and Aqua-san coming on the set, returning to studio footage, live in 10 seconds. 4, 3, 2. And they go, and you end up seeing, okay, and this is what you telling me, hey, this is about idols, this is the whole thing that you like. Then I see this first spread page, and I'm like, okay, that's a weird-looking group right there, but it really doesn't tell you anything. I mean, it really doesn't matter anything in these first deals, but you also see a girl who will find out in a very sad deal, will be dead soon. We see 2 that aren't even born, and not all these things going on. As you go into this, you then are introduced to the big idol deal. And the funny thing is, it's a idol group, B. Kamachi. Tell me how that's going to work, because that is one of the worst names I've ever heard in my life.
That's no Blackpink.
That's no Blackpink or Twice, right? You know what I'm saying? I'm expanding here. And that's the thing I have to keep remembering, too, is not that it matters, but I'm more into the K-pop, not the Japanese idols.
There's a big difference.
Still the same thing with that. You end up where you get a narration of this group. Oh my God, 4 years in, they're really starting to hit their peak. They're doing great. And my favorite one, using the heart sign that I like to always see from my Blackpink members, that is the big eye. You end up having this girl, and that's this sus doctor's favorite. Now we find out, it's kind of funny as he's saying that. Now with that, I would believe that she might be the visual of the group. And if you're not aware, the idol groups, they have legit member positions. And it gets a little wonky. I'm not going to go through it because you'll end up having like, oh my God, that's the lead. No, that's not the best one. The main vocalist. They have all these, and there's the dancer, the rapper, the singer, and then the visual, and they kind of twist and turn. You also have a leader in some. Blackpink doesn't. That's one of their big things. And that's what makes them so great. There is no leaders. They're all leaders. But you end up, I'm going to try not to make this the Blackpink podcast. But you end up where this guy, he's into this, and he's talking about the idea, too, where these idols, they have to lie about everything. And it is true. They're not allowed to do anything. You even had a BTS scandal recently where, God forbid, one of them was seen maybe smoking. And this was like ripples throughout the whole universe.
Was he smoking like a badass?
He better not been at all. You're not allowed to do that. Like, they're not allowed to do anything. Like, you have a picture, and if they're at the club, and they're sitting down, and there might be a bottle of wit, like, you got to make sure that you're not near. It's
that
weird.
Better be
it's
Sonny
really
G.
like that. And so what this whole deal of this, and not the purple stuff, you end up where the big thing here is they end up having to portray this fully innocent image. They can never do anything wrong. Everybody knows it's not true, but you can't go against it, because once you go against it, then they lose interest and they'll rebel against you. Even though you might end up doing things that everybody that watches you does, but you're not allowed to do it because you're an idol. They are put on pedestals. They are almost not real people. You want them to be this, crazy thing of the most perfect thing ever. Yeah, and so with that, it's tough. Now, in this book, I thought we were going to get more of like that, like going against the norm.
So.
We are, but we end up in a weird way because we have this doctor we find out it's a doctor. It's an OBGYN who's watching this at the hospital while he's with the patient. And the guy's like 30. He's sus, and Dr. he's yelling, "Oh my God!" And he starts yelling, she's the best. She's the cutest thing ever, and I worship her, and she's awesome." And then you pull back and see that he's in the middle of a deal with a patient, and he not only is watching TV, he brought the DVD in himself and put it on the TV to watch this while he's supposed to be working. And then you have a nurse or whatever with him. And she's like, "Hey, you can't watch that here. We're with a patient." He tries to change it up and says, "Oh, no. Watching beautiful things is good for your health."
There you go.
They're going with this. The guy who's sitting there, he seems happy enough, right?
He's enjoying it. He's wearing a hat indoors, so I already don't know what's going on with him.
Well, that's trouble when we see the next person.
Uh-oh.
I mean, there's trouble. But when he ends up saying, "Okay, here I am," he's an OBGYN. He's there doing his doctor deal, but they're not anywhere. They're out in the sticks, he says. We're in the boonies. We're not in Tokyo.
You can't see them live in the concert.
Yeah, and he says, "I like to, have the fun of the idols here, even though we'll never be able to see that." While that's going on, first off, this lady does say that he is a lolicon. And I'm like, what is that? Like, he likes to go to lollipop conventions? Like, is that it?
I wish.
Candy conventions? And I'm like, then I start getting weirded out. Like, that kind of seems like something that a sus guy would get to lure because it's an older guy and a young girl. So he does seem to be that. Now, again, Eric and everybody making fun of me at Blackpink, they're in mid-20s, so stop it. But with that also is, I don't like them for that. I like the music and the attitude.
It's a deeper love.
It is. And he ends up he does have a reason. And because the doctor ends up saying, "Oh, by the way, this girl, she's trending on Twitter." What? And he goes and checks, and she is taking time off because she, health concerns.
She's on hiatus?
B. Kamachi's eye goes on hiatus. Uh-oh. I know what that means. Holy, you better take notes. You end up where it says due to poor health, right? And so with that, really in my mind, what this usually would mean, she's going into rehab. She's on the heroin or something. And I don't know if he thinks that or whatever, but usually that's whenever you see somebody acting weird at some point, and then the next day they say, "Oh, they're going to get some help." Away,
that's bad news.
But yeah, so you end up, oh my God, she's going on hiatus. Now the group seems to be carrying on without her, which that does
without her
Ace. Yeah, without that, and so you end up where he's like, "Oh my God," and she says, "Aren't you the one? Isn't that the one you're obsessed with? Oh man, you're a lolicon. She's 16. You're old." He's like, "Well, what the? That's not what I want to hear. I need to figure this out." He's kind of taken aback by this news, but he does want to explain things. And now we get the feels, because he ended up, when he became, and he says, "I've always been at this hospital. This is where I did my, internship and residency. Here I am, I'm doing this." And back in the day, I ended up meeting a girl. Now, again, this seems real sus at the beginning, again, where he's like, no, I don't like young girls, but let me tell you about this 12-year-old girl that I met. But she was a patient. Now, with that, they don't fully explain. They give what it is. She has a brain tumor. Is what she ends up having, and that's why she has the cap on. But she's really into the idols. So she ended up, and it's not really I that she's into at this point, whatever, but she's into idols, and then also I as well. But she ends up saying, "Hey, look at this, and these idols are great."
She knows all their names, just like you know all the black pigs.
Yeah, knows all the things. And this is what she can grab onto and be happy about, even while she has brain cancer. And the idea, he already said that they had started 4 years ago. 4 years, they rose the ranks. Then we go back to talk about a girl who unfortunately dies when she's 12 and would have been 16 now. So this girl was on the cutting edge of the B Camachi.
She had her
right
ear
away
to the pulse of the idol streets.
Notice that I has to be the favorite of everyone, but that's how the doctor, and I'm telling you right now, I'm not going to say this doctor, and the doctor's name is Guru. He is sus to the nth degree. He really is. I'm not going to say that this backstory,
sus with good intentions.
Yeah, I'm not going to say the backstory clears him for how obsessed he is, but he has a reason why he ended up getting introduced to the idols and also the eye. He ends up, that's a very innocent thing, probably never would have ever heard about them or ever bothered with them, but he was taken aback by it, but then has a solemn promise in his heart to make sure, though it doesn't really make sense as we go, because she ends up where she really likes, this deal. He's right at and this is a flashback. He is new to the job here too, so this might also really be the first person who dies under his care. That might also be affecting him as well, but it's a cute little girl, and, nobody should die, especially that young. And so she ends up where she says, "Do you think, these idols are great?" And he says, no, listen, he's trying to be nice. Again, if you go through the sus filter, yeah, maybe, but he's like, "What? You're cute too. And you could be an idol yourself." Because she says, "Wouldn't it be cool to be reborn as the child of an idol?" Right there's the most important phrase of this whole entire series. And it doesn't make sense to me. It's so wacky, the concept.
It's such the concept is so out there, and then not just her, but it comes back later big time, and everybody seems to be obsessed with this idea
on their mind, right?
Let's get reborn as a celebrity. What?
And you know what's funny about it? This is a weird deal. Now with her, unfortunately, they don't spell it out. She knows she's going to die. What she has is awful. Now, with that, there's a weird play, and I don't know if it plays out. But when you have what she has, the tumors end up coming from cells that are shaped like stars. So it was a weird. I'm like, that's weird, because I looked it up, and I'm like, does that have anything to? I don't know. That's a little dark. But you end up where most people think, if it's me and you, like just say you love the Mario Lemieux, right? The hockey player. You love him. I do.
Who's that?
Or, why don't we just go Gretzky? I don't know why I went with my
Wayne Gretzky.
Wayne Gretzky. A lot of people would say, "I wish I was Wayne Gretzky." Like, I want to be, or I wish I was as good as Wayne.
Well, you don't want to be Wayne Gretzky's kid.
Yeah, I want to be Wayne Gretzky's kid. And that's a weird deal, even though
very odd.
You might think that would give you, but it's almost like they wish to be famous, but they don't want to do the work. Because I'm telling you, you wish to be the idol, you are going to be a trainee again, making the sausage deal. But you could end up being a trainee for 5-10 years. Like, that's hard work. No, it'd be better. They're already idols, so we'll be the kid. And then I'm famous and rich and almost like what you get, on half the TikTok.
All the perks, none of the work.
That's shade at you influencers.
Oh,
that's what it seems. But they never played out that way, but that's how it seems. But he ends up saying, you're as cute as them. You don't need to be reborn. Right? Now, he's giving her a little false hope, I think. Pep talk. Yeah, and she's like, oh my God. And he says, once you get discharged from the hospital, you can be an idol yourself. And she goes, oh my God. Now, little do they seem to realize she's going to be discharged in a hearse, right? I don't. she ain't going to the idol. She's going into the ground. That's what she's going. I'm telling you, dead as a doornail. Look, I mean, just done.
The big concert in the sky.
Yeah, just done. Really. The pearly gates is what she's going to be going through. Hopefully. Who knows? Maybe she did some
fingers crossed.
Maybe she did some wacky things in the 12.
She's doing some sus things to the doctor.
She ends up saying, "Oh my God, really? You think I could do that? Marry me, doctor. I love you." And I love it. He actually gets it then. I'm going to be canceled.
Oh, jeez.
You will be. You will be, buddy. And then you're like, again, and I'm trying to make it a little lighter in the deal. I mean, I'm telling you, dead. Because you go to the next page and they're there at the funeral. I'm like, holy moly. And not even that. It's there. Do you like what it's like? And I hope I can be 16. And when I'm 16, I'll marry you. All these. He's just being goofy, trying to get her happy or whatever. And we see her. She's dead. I mean, that's it. She's done. So the idea of this is like, would this be, did she get reincarnated?
What could have been?
I started getting weird ideas that all it was going to be is passing on her name. Her name's Serena, but that doesn't seem. But you end up where she did die, and we remember. Oh yeah, this is a flashback. He's telling the lady who said he was a lolicon, and then he says, she was 12. She would have been 16, right now, like I. And then she goes, "Oh, I get it. You're a lolicon." It doesn't change. He's like, "Oh no, are you even listening? That was a touching story." But with that, she thinks that he's a little over the top. You're really obsessing. He kind of plays at that. Oh, well, that's kind of for, Serena, this patient. I'm liking the stuff for her, but no. You're going way over the top. And then even says, if I came right now and asked you to marry her, would you say yes or no? He won't answer. He's sus. But then all of a sudden, in this, and again, is that the play here? Are they going to end up where now sus older dog? Because all of a sudden, you see, A shows up. She's a patient now.
What a quickie dig.
What would that mean? Well, you find out right away before he actually, and it's one of those almost like a Superman that they talk about. A Superman was there as Clark Kent with the glasses. Oh my God, that's not a disguise. But you'd never expect Clark Kent, Superman, to be standing next to you. Here is his idol, who he obsessed with, who's in the same room. He never would think she'd be there, so it doesn't register right away. Then he thinks maybe she just looks so much like her, doppelganger or whatnot, but she's pregnant. She shows up here, and all it is to him at first is a 16-year-old who's pregnant. He's going, must be this many weeks in, that sort of thing. The funny thing is she's not quite what he thinks because she ends up as twins. So she's actually bigger. And that's kind of, some of these little things do work out with the math and things. I thought they were pretty clever. But he says, like, that's pretty late for a first examination, 20 weeks in. Well, it's because it's twins. And then he sees, 16. Okay, there's an older guy with her. This must be something. And I mean, you could have all these sorts of ideas in your head that it could even be a Yakuza thing, because that guy looks sus.
He looks pretty shady.
Right, he does look shady, and one of those things where like a crime boss's daughter gets pregnant, that would shame the family, send her off to the boonies, the sticks, to get this taken care of, because at this one point, I don't know what the manager's really getting to, but it almost feels like he's there to maybe try to end this, and I didn't like it, but he ends up where, okay, and the doctor's reading Goro. And the funny thing is as you go through this, you realize, and as I'm reading it and telling you about it right here, you don't really even need to know the doctor's name. You really don't.
No.
Because it's going to change.
It's going to get crazy.
I keep forgetting to say his name because all you have to know is at this point, doctor. Right? Yeah. It is
Dr. Sus.
Dr. Sus. Calling Dr. Sus you end up where he says to this older guy that's with this girl, "Oh, are you the father? Are you her father?" And says, and it's funny. I thought at first when I first read it, I thought, "Are you the father?" Oh, my goodness. But no, are you her father? And he says, "On paper, yes. She's adopted. We raised her from the orphanage." That starts to get a crazy deal here because we find out this is A, right? And that means that the company owns her, really. The company and the manager
got her from an orphanage.
Pretty much made her into this idol. That's kind of a sad childhood. I wanted to say and groomed her in, but because grooming has a lot of different meanings, but it is kind of that. They ended up grabbing a deal. Now, as this goes on, that seems a little sus, but it seems weird and whatever, but she's kind of owned by the company, it seems, and she is pregnant, and that's when you end up seeing that the doctor realizes this is this is his big idol
when she
that
takes
he
off the
loves.
hat.
Yep, she takes off the hat. She's got stars in her eyes, literally, and is pregnant. And you end up where he's doing the deal. He's freaking out. I mean, he ends up saying, "Is it doppelganger?" No. And then it's like, "Oh my God, she's so cute." The reactions he has, if they're really going on in real life, like throwing himself into the ground and slamming his head into the ground.
Get her a new doctor,
I don't
please.
know what they're thinking. Again, though, they went to this hospital because it's not in Tokyo, but also she reveals in a little bit, they figured that all of the doctors were going to be old men who would not know who she is, but he does.
They wouldn't care.
He ends up saying, now with that too, at one point, I like where the manager even just says, hey, he says her name, which is a little weird. And they had checked in without an alias, which you end up having sus doctor Goro says you should do this. Like, he's the one who's on the ball here. He knows what you need to do because, again, the big thing is she's pregnant. They find out it's twins, and then they ask who the father is, and she says, tee-hee, it's a secret, and then gets all cutesy with her peace sign. There are, instead of sparkles, there are cat emojis all over the place. There's stars everywhere. She was trying to do that and using her, her idol tricks here to do this. But you really might want to know who it is. It is
pretty
crazy.
Important.
Yeah, it is. And yeah, he looks twins. That's why she's so big at this point. And he does say still you're 20 weeks in. So I guess he still was right. But it is twins. She's big. It's like, oh my God. And then you have the manager sweating. Are you really going to go through with this? Now, he just means, are you going to keep that's awful. But she says
that's
yes.
Pretty sus.
Yeah, and he says, if the world finds out you're 16, you gave birth, you're done. But so is the agency. We're all done. If it's revealed.
And he seems more concerned with the agency and that than actually her.
But it is true. There'd be lots of trouble should be done. But she thinks, no, I could do it. But she wants to know the doctor's opinion. What should I do? Hey, doc, should we have this? Is it too late? Whatever. And you almost get the idea, too. Now, she is showing. But maybe in the background, little bit of a, off-panel deal. First off, she didn't want to reveal it at first because she didn't know how they'd react. But maybe she waited too long so that they'd be forced that, no, you can't do any other. You can't make me do anything. I'm having the kids. But you end up where the doctor says, you got to think careful about this. But he starts to go like, should I give the idol answer or should I give, the regular one that I'd say because he's really torn. So he walks away. Yeah, he walks away to go and check this out. Right, conveniently, as they go to the waiting room, you have people watching TV where you end up having an idol marrying a comedian. I'm telling you right now, I don't want to shame anybody, but she could do a lot better.
I'm telling you, he must be a really funny guy.
Look at this guy. He looks like, the Jerry Lewis. Hello, ladies.
Boy.
Like nonsense. But with that, you end up having
the weirdest conversation ever.
Weirdest. Now, I do have to step aside and say the one person definitely has Gigi's jumper on, so I like it. Looks like Gigi from Dan to Dan, but they're talking and like, hey, that's ridiculous. You get married, I'm out. Like, this shows you how a little thing can happen and the person that they love, done. I'm done with that. I don't. And it happens a lot where you'll even have the idols. The guy idols I get more with the idea that they want to make it so that, oh, all you girls out there who love us, you might actually be able to date us because we aren't dating any. Like, they play that game. And that game has been going on forever with that stuff.
Time.
But the idea, oh, I'm done. And then out of nowhere, one person says, hey, you know what I would like? I'd like to be reborn as my idol's child.
What?
When does this come up like this? I mean,
what
this
is
odd, right? This is very odd. Now, with that, just remind, is that in fact, does something happen to this person in this, and then we find out that there might be a connection with that? Because it would be weird. You don't really get that, but who knows? I don't know. Going forward, maybe we'd find out more, and you'll find out what we're talking about, because even sus Dr. Goro's like, it's kind of weird to have this pop up again.
And he is Mr. Sus. Jeez.
The first time, but like that's 4 years ago. So it's not like it happened the same day, but we're reading this. This is a weird deal for it ever to come up that somebody would get that idea of, it'd be awesome if I was the kid of the, just odd. But he's like, oh, that's weird. So he goes off and he's trying to figure out what's happening. And then he does look, he has on his phone, you could say sus, but it's nice. He has the girl who died, where he is trying to carry things on for her. And again, you could go with that idea. I just like the idols, and I go as if I'm trying to channel this girl, Serena, who died of brain cancer. I'm trying to, live something that she did to keep it going. But it still is weird, right? But he ends up where he's out there, and I comes out, and they're watching the stars, and
the stars
says,
in the country skies.
Yeah, and this is when she starts saying, because she doesn't know that he knows who she is. And, I thought out here would be where nobody would know me, old doctors, but I guess I can't help being so cute. And then she does a little pose. But in that, I like where she comes out. What she likes is they're in the country. And in Tokyo, it's too bright. You don't see the stars. This is really fun. This is neat. She's kind of making the best of it. She does not seem upset that she's pregnant. Not at any point does she ever feel like, you don't get that idea of, oh my God, what am I going to do? My idol career over.
She's happy.
She thinks she can do it all. And she's going to have these kids because she did not have a family. She's an orphan. I mean, a lot of these things are set up very well, where she wants a family. And then he's like, really? Like, how are you going to do that? She's like, what? I'm just not going to announce it. That's all it is. She's not going to announce that she has kids. And then she'll just have the kids and go back to being an idol. She doesn't think there's any problem with that. And you end up having that idea. It's just another lie.
It's all lies.
With all of that, the big thing that you have to start, thinking, well, who's the father? Are they going to find out? Do they know? And what do they think about this? Who knows? We have to find out with that, because she ends up saying, I'm just going to do it. Everybody lies. The idols lie. And I think I can do it. And she says, it'd be nice if the happiness was real. People don't realize it, but we have feelings of our own in our lives too. And that's the thing. It is a sad life for some people. They end up having to dedicate their entire life to do this. And it is a funny thing. And again, this is me talking about Blackpink and stuff and the idol stuff that I do really love. But I don't think people realize this isn't just like you have a band or anything in the West. You have the, NSYNC. Oh, they were there. Justin, he was doing his thing on the Disney, and they got these guys, and then you get a manager. These girls and guys they go to tests. Then when they're accepted, they go to they don't see their family.
Like a boot camp.
They go to a boot camp, almost prison type. I'm telling you. And they train day after
day. They are built that way.
For huge hours. So when you end up, by the time they are, and this is like just as Blackpink, as an example, the girls in Blackpink, like the least I think was Rose, who might have been a trainee for 4 or 5 years. That's still 4 or 5 years of every day doing stuff. Where the others even more, where you're tested, you're evaluated, and you may never even make it. So when they get to the point where they're idols, they have really sacrificed so much, and then they have to be this perfect thing that goes around you.
And they can't do one thing wrong.
Yeah, no. And so it's not really, when you go and you get into it, it's not the greatest. It really, and some of the girls, there was a thing where, again, Blackpink, Jisoo said that she might actually regret doing it all. It might have been better to have a childhood and to go through these things. It's tough. But they end up like, even she says, I want to be happy. I'm going to have these kids. I can be happy and still be an idol too. that's what I want, both. And it's just crazy. Like her saying, idol or family, and you have to choose. And she wants both. So you end up where it's funny because she is in her name, Hashino, and he says she's a greedy girl. But she's bolder and she wants to do this. Now, again, people listening, like, what is... What's going on here? I mean, we're really talking about something where an idol is pregnant with twins. Oh, I'm going to have the twins and I'm going to do it. Like, okay, slice of life deal a little bit. But there's more to this as we go now because there's weird stuff going on where just the idea that he doesn't say like those are contexts that her eyes are saying, it weirds me out. But she ends up where she's going to do this, and you're a doctor. You're going to ensure that that's okay. And he says, yeah, I'm going to ensure that. I'll give safety to your babies. They'll be healthy because you're an idol, and I love it. And he's hopelessly your captive.
Which is also big time sus. Look at that face. Sus.
But he wants to make sure she's going to be okay. And he ends up first. He's the guy who's on the ball. You got to go on an assumed name. You can't have an idol being seen here. We're going to have the delivery starts talking about things like we might have to have a C-section. That is big for twins. And then right away, it's not the concern of health or anything. The manager goes, whoa, what? A C-section scar on your head? That's going to cause problems. And she's like, no, I don't mind. I'll have a natural birth. Because he says if their heads are a little big, they're not going to be able to come out. You have twins and you're a small girl. And she goes, I mean, they're my kids, so they have to have small, beautiful faces, right?
Small, pretty faces.
She's living in this dream world of hers. And he ends up like, oh, yeah, whatever. You really are, big on yourself, these careless assumptions. And I do like some of the things. Like, you end up getting a time jump, and you have the classic movie deal where the calendar pages are flying at you. But also in this, where the manager, he just puts up the white flag that says surrender. All right, I guess we're doing this. We're having the deals. And so all this is going on, and she is about the time to have her baby.
Delivery days,
right? The delivery day. And the thing is, this is true too. Your doctor that you go to doesn't deliver the baby. You go to the hospital usually, and sometimes, but sometimes not. And so it's not that crazy that he isn't going to deliver. But if there's problems, he'll be called. And I mean, we have 5 kids. I kind of know the routine where you go get your checks, but then when you go to the hospital, the guy's on call or he may show up. I remember, I think one of the kids, the doctor showed up and said, hey, good luck, just because he was there. But you have somebody else deliver the baby, all that. But if there's problems, he's going to get the call. And he's like, oh, it'll be fine. And if I'm not around, another doctor can do that. This is like his time is done. And he even has an idea in his mind of like, that's it. This idol that I worship, I've had, this relationship type deal, doctor-patient, but I've gotten to know her, and it's done. Once she has the babies, I'm done. She's going to go back or wherever they're going to raise, whatever. And he kind of seems a little bit sad, but he does want her to be, healthy and have these kids and have fun. He says, and he even says, my connection will be gone. We'll go back to just being idol and her fan. And I'm like, no, it's idol and old man. Dude, you're too old. But he's like, oh, well, that sucks or whatever, but I'm praying for happiness from the bottom of my heart. He goes for a walk. Suddenly, out of nowhere, sus jogger comes up. Now, again, tracksuit, but it's weird.
Hoodie up.
Yeah, and says, are you Hashino's doctor? Now, this is her name. That has been scrubbed off the record there. So how does this guy know? How has he tracked him all the way to the middle of nowhere for this? I don't know why he's like, hey, she uses an alias when she went, you give the whole explanation of things and says, even if you saw her at the hospital, how would you know her unpublicized name? What's going on? Are you involved with? May I ask your name? The guy takes off. I mean, he runs away, just runs. And this doctor, sus Dr. Guru, maybe should have just went home. Maybe he should have went and warned her. I don't know. He chases him. He starts chasing him, but they're in this mountain road type deal. They're in the woods. It's dark. It's night. He's tired. Not in the greatest of shape, I guess, but he ends up where he can't find them. And then all of a sudden, right behind, boom, this figure, because you never see the face, anything ninja-like comes behind. And then we cut to black.
Oh.
And then we see the doctor has been brutally murdered. He's done, but he's talking as he's in this blackness, like, oh my God, my mind went black. So what's going on here? Is he dead? Is he not? Where is he?
Like, is he subconscious? Who knows?
Yeah. And he says, my phone's ringing. Did I go into labor? Oh my God, where's my phone? It's too dark to find it. I can't move my body. I need to go to her soon, see what's going on. I'm sure she gave birth to healthy babies. Then you cut to him, just sus doctor, straight up murdered in the woods. And it says, I need to get up and deliver her children. Well, then we get a couple things where you see the girl who had died from brain cancer. You see him dead with this person looming over. But that big idea of, if you die right now, there's a chance you'll be reborn as an idol's child that was said in that waiting room. Like that crazy idea. And then he keeps repeating that. Oh my God, if I was reborn, if I died right now, if I was reborn, boom. And then you just end with I holding two babies in her. She gave birth to the babies and says, I never thought it would have anything to do with me. Whoa. The doctor's saying that, dead doctor. And then boom, you're there, and you can't not realize he's one of them babies. I mean, there's something so crazy in this at the end. You're like, what the heck was this all about? Like, this guy, through all of that, just ends up him being murdered at the exact time. And it seems like that's the play. If you're going to be reincarnated, you must have to die right at the moment that another baby's born. And boom, you go into that baby. So that's why I said, you would hope that girl from before would be, but that doesn't seem plausible.
How does that work time-wise?
Yeah, that's 4 years. That doesn't work. Like, what was she just hanging for it? Like, and it doesn't seem. But we'll see. But I mean, the big deal is, I think that guy's one of the babies. And so when I was laughing, is he in that darkness? Is he in heaven or is he already in the womb? It's about like the darkness is just him and the baby already, but it is kind of the funny idea of him being the baby, and then you start wondering, does that mean that does he remember everything and what? And we'll get to that later. Like I said, though, 10 chapters.
10 chapters later.
That is a lot, but by the end, I like the art. I think that it's not great. Anything like, there's no fight scenes, there's no big monsters or whatever. It's just regular deal art. Looks
lots
great.
Of talking.
Yeah, it looks really good, though, the way they play it out. So I did like that. And the story, the more, I suggest maybe reading it twice, too. Not that it really does much to explain things. It's just, I don't know. The first time I read it, I'm like, I don't even know what the heck just happened. It's so weird.
All these crazy concepts are getting thrown at you, and you don't know what's going on. And then you have weird sus delivery or waiting room boys talking about things, and then when it all comes together at the end, but you're just shell shocked. So on the second read through, it makes a lot more sense.
Yeah, and then you have to remember too, it's almost at 80 chapters in Japan, and it's big, and a lot of people have been begging for this to come over to be translated. So if you're like, oh my God, and it's weird because
you go in with high expectations. Everybody's talking
about it. This chapter doesn't really, like, you don't sit there at the end of this and go, oh my God, I get it. I see what, but there is something there, and there's that weird cliffhanger. But yeah, you're really going to have to, bear it out till the end of these chapters. But what would you give it?
I'm thinking like I went in with high expectations. Everybody was talking about this down at the malt shop, But it's a very odd first chapter. It's very weird. Like, just the concepts are so goofy. I do like the idea of like the idol stuff. We always like the idols, Jim. But like that's one part of it, and then the rest of it is this weird baby reincarnation nonsense.
And again, when I first read it before I looked at anything else or whatever, I did say, oh, okay, the doctor has to be one of them babies. But the thing is like, you even have to make that assumption. At the end, she just has babies. The doctor's dead, as far as you know. Guess. I mean, yeah, you have to guess. And it's not like the cliffhanger of like, oh my God, where all of a sudden they show the baby and then you go into the eye and oh my God, it's the doctor in there. Oh my goodness gracious.
Goo goo gaga.
Yeah, goo goo gaga. Baby hungry. That's what he's saying. Now he's sus again with the being hungry. Yeah, oh my. What's going on there?
No.
Doc, you are sus. But yeah, you have to kind of jump to that conclusion to even make it even like, okay, I want to see how that goes. Because at the end, you're like, if you're not into like, okay, what am I going to see now? And I don't have kids. What do I care about that? But there is more to it. And then it gets even more and more when we get past.
Like, there's a lot of layers added on to it in these first 10 chapters. You just have to be able to, be patient enough to put up with it, is the thing. A big ask. I'm going to be a 7.8.
Yeah, I think I'm about. It's funny. I think I'll still go 8. Maybe it is because I looked into some things, though, too. But the second time reading it to do this, because the first time you fell asleep, you said, jerk. They ended up where I ended up actually, maybe it benefited because I ended up liking it more. I ended up liking it more the second time I read. It comes
together better.
Yeah, and I'm just like, you know what you're getting into, then you can kind of just enjoy it for what it is, because it does keep you off balance that first time. Things off balance of like, why would I read this and what's going on here? So yeah, I'm going to give it an 8, and hopefully, if I do continue liking it more and more and more, especially after those 10 chapters. That's the prelude. Can't get over that. That is so many to just have as a prelude and not really tell anybody, it seems. But with all of that, yeah, we have the next, the other hot off the press name that we'll be doing next week, because there was another book that came out as well at the same time that this one hit, and I get the name messed up with that one as well all the time. And I was hoping that you had that name, and I think you.
It is the marriage toxins. Ooh. Apparently, this ain't 80 chapters behind. This is brand new. So we are up to date with Japan on this one, which is crazy.
That's crazy. So that's cool. But yeah, that's a longer one. It's like 80-page first chapter.
Pages.
What are they doing? But we'll be doing that hot off the presses next week. So with all of that, we're going to get going. And yeah, just keep doing and look in the next week or so, starting in the beginning of May, we're going to be doing our reading clubs. We're starting that up on the regular feed. So each day we'll have Tuesday to Sunday, we'll have one of the reading clubs, me and Luke, doing a bunch of those things like My Hero Academia, Jujutsu Kaisen, Demon Slayer, Chainsaw Man. Then me and Jason doing Death Note, and me and my man Clay doing Dragon Ball. So yeah, check those out. They'll be coming up soon. If you want to get early access to them, they're already starting to drop on our Patreon, patreon.com/WeirdScienceManga. That'll be in the show notes. Also, go over to Twitter at WeirdManga. Follow us, we'll follow you back. That's it, Luke. We did it.
Easy.
We can go off with the idols and debates and things like that. But yeah, thanks everybody, and we will talk to you next Monday.
We are fighters, we fight until we win. The stairs are long, though, the breadth of all that is and been. Ghost detectives, only the strong survive. We made the